Alright, so here's where we left off. We have a grid of dots that are generating. We already have some 3 in a rows here, but what we're going to be talking about today is how we can make the dots switch with a swipe. And before I do that, I actually think this looks way too big. I'm going to cut these dimensions probably in half both ways. So I'm going to look at my Game Manager object, and I'm going to change my width to, I don't want it to be just 5 because that means there's only one 5 in a row that can fit. I'll make it 6, and I'll make this 8. It's going to change my X start and my Y start. So my pieces are 32 by 32, and my room is, I think, 360 by 640. Let's double check that. Let's make this 360 by 640. Okay, so my room is 360 wide. I want to have 6 of these wide. They're 32. 32 times 6 is 192. So 340 minus 192. What is that? That's 148. So 72 plus 16 is 88. If you didn't follow any of that math I just did in my head, sorry. Okay, and then let's actually make this 10 so our math is nice and easy. And then we're 640 tall. 32 times 10 is 320, so leaves us 320 on each side. I'm going to have it down by 32, or down by 200, plus 16 makes this 216. So that means I need to change it in the dot as well. So in the dots create variable, I'm going to change this 26 to be 88, and this 144 to be 216. Alright, I'm going to save that and hit play, and see if that looks a little less cluttered. Okay, that's better. We could actually make our room a little bit smaller, and that might be good, but for now that's probably fine. Anyway, I don't want to mess with that too much more. I want to get to the actual good stuff. So here's the idea behind the movement controller we're going to create. Let's take a look at it on paper. Okay, so on paper, here's what we want to do. We have our, let's just kind of use this that I used before. We have our look of the screen. We want to record, let's say the player touches this dot right here. We want to record where they press on the screen. So we want to record their first position, or maybe their first touch. And then they're going to drag their finger like some direction here. And we want to record whatever that second, or let's say final touch is, when they release from the screen. A GameMaker treats a touch the same way it does a left mouse click, so we're going to be using left mouse clicks for those events. What we want to do then is we want to find the angle that the vector between these two creates. And then based on what that angle is, we know where we want this to move, and we know which of these pieces it needs to switch with. And we'll do the switching by using that row and column method that we just created. So like, let's say that they pull this way, then we want to find that dot that's there, and we want to tell this dot that it needs to be in this column, and the original dot that it needs to be in that column. Okay, oh yeah, one thing too. So if you're unfamiliar with how a unit circle looks, so the way a unit circle works is over here on the right is 0 degrees, straight up is 90, straight to the left is 180, and straight down is 270. So what we want to do is if they're touching anywhere between 45 and 315, so 315 and 45, we want to count that as a right swipe. If they're touching between, or if they're dragging between 45 and 135, we want to count that as an up swipe. Between 180 and 225 is a left swipe, and then between 225 and 315 is a down swipe. So that's how we're going to be doing that. And let's take a look at the code. So there's some variables I'm going to need to create here first. So what I want to do is I want to record the target X position, which I'm going to set to X to start, the target Y position, which I'm going to set to Y. And that's where the dot needs to be. And that's always going to be based on its row and column. And we'll get to that in the step event in just a second. I also want to record the first touch position. And for now I'm going to set that to X. I need to record both the X and the Y's from here. So first touch position X, and then first touch position Y is Y. And then I want to record the final touch position X. Set that to X as well. And final touch position Y equal to Y. I'm going to make this a little bit, not minus Y equals Y. I'm going to make comment on my code here a little bit. So I'm going to say that these are movement variables. Up here, this is image variables. And then this is position variables. Okay. One more thing I want to do is I want to keep track of if the dot is currently being controlled. So I'm going to say is controlling equals false. And yeah, I think that's all I need to do for right now. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a left-clicked event. So I'm going to go to my mouse. I want left down. Or actually, no, I want left pressed. Down is if they're holding it down. Pressed is the moment they press it. And I want that one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the object to be controlled. Then I'm going to say is controlling is true. And I'm also going to record the XY position of that press. So I'm going to say first touch X is equal to the X position of the mouse, and first touch Y is equal to the first touch Y, and X is equal to the mouse underscore, jeez, I can't type today, mouse underscore Y. So we're setting those variables, and we're also setting it to be true. The next thing we want to do is when they release from the mouse, but not necessarily on this item, like if they drag halfway across the screen, we want it to still recognize. So if we just do a mouse event let's left released, it won't recognize that. Left released has to be on the same object. So I want to go to the global, and I want to do global left release. And this is going to be, say, calculate direction. So I'm going to say if is controlling, because I don't want it to do this for every dot, because any code I enter here goes on every dot. I don't want every dot to recognize that stuff. I only want it to do it if I was controlling that dot, which is set when I touch it. So if is controlling, then final touch X is equal to mouse underscore X, not S, and final touch Y is equal to mouse underscore Y. Let me make sure that those are the variables I used, because they're not turning purple right away. Oh yeah, they are not the variables I used. So let me go back here and change this. So first touch position X and first touch position Y. Final touch position X, oops, yep, that's the one I wanted. And final touch position Y. Okay, cool. Now I need to have another variable here, and this variable is to calculate the direction. So I'm going to say, let's say swipe direction is equal to none. So I don't want it to be equal to 0, because 0 registers as a right swipe. I want it to be nothing at first. So then in here, I'm also going to calculate the swipe direction. So I'm going to say swipe direction, that use the variable I just used, right? Yes, okay. Swipe direction is equal to point underscore direction. And this is a function that's built into GameMaker. It finds the angle that the vector between 2 points would make based on a unit circle. And I want to do first touch position X, first touch position Y, final touch position X, final touch position Y. And that should return the degree of whatever the vector connecting those 2 points is. Okay, so once I do that, now I'm going to do an if statement in here. So I'm going to say if swipe direction is greater than 315 and, oh no, this one has to be or. Swipe direction is less than 45. Then I want it to be a right swipe. Okay, so the reason this one has to be an or is because there's no number that's greater than 315 and less than 45. It needs to be greater than 315 or less than 45. Going to else this, and then I'm just going to copy this whole if statement, and I'm going to paste it again. So else, oh, apparently I copied too much. Whatever. Okay. Oh, that's why. There. Is that better? No. Oh, because I didn't actually open this else statement. Else if. I'm just going to copy this. And I'm going to replace this with that. There we go. Except I didn't copy the I. Jeez. Alright. Copy this. And there we go. Need to have 4 directions. I'm going to have a right swipe. I'm going to have an up swipe. I'm going to have a left swipe. And I'm just kind of working my way around the circle counterclockwise. And I'm going to have a down swipe. So the up swipe is if it's greater than 45. And then this one's going to be an and. It is less than or equal to 135. I should make this one less than or equal to 45, just so I'm not missing any angles. This one's going to be left swipe, and it's going to be greater than 135, and instead of or, less than or equal to 225. And then this one is going to be greater than 225, and less than or equal to 315. Okay, so now what I'm going to do here is actually do that right swipe stuff. So what I want to do is I want to find the other dot, the dot that's either to the right, up, down, or to the left of this one. I want to make that dot think its row or column changes based on the situation, and then change this dot's row or column based on the situation. So first I'm going to find the other dot. I'm going to say var other dot is equal to, and this is going to be, since it's a right swipe, we want to find the other dot to the right of us. So var other dot is equal to instance underscore position at x plus, we already defined the width, so I can do that, x plus width, y, and what I'm looking for is o underscore dot. Okay, cool. And one more thing I want to do is up here, I want it to be if it's in between these two angles, so I'm going to put these in parentheses, and if our column is less than GameManager.width minus 1, meaning we can only swipe right if we're at the second to last column. Okay, then we're going to do other dot is this. We're going to do other dot column minus equals 1, and our column plus equals 1. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to copy these 3 lines of code, and I'm going to be using them for the up, down, left, and right swipes. So I'm just going to copy them in here and then change what I need to, because I am lazy and I want to type as little as possible. Here I need to make sure that the width was less than the entire width, or the column was less than the entire width of the board minus 1. If I'm doing an up swipe, I want to make sure that my row is, so if it's up swipe, I want to make sure that my row is greater than 0, because I can't up swipe from the 0 row. If I'm left swiping, I want to make sure that my column is greater than 0. And if I'm down swiping, I want to make sure that my column is less than the game manager's game manager dot height minus 1. Okay, cool. So back to here. If I'm up swiping, I'm going to find the dot that's at our x position, but it's at y minus width, because up in GameMaker is really minus on y, sorry. And then I'm going to be changing the row here. So the row is going to increase. Right, the other dot's row is going to increase, and our row is going to decrease. Okay, and then here, if it's a left swipe, I'm looking for minus width, and their column is going to increase, and our column is going to decrease. And then here, we want to do plain x, and then y plus width. No, get it out of there. Okay, and then we want to change their row for going down. Their row is going to decrease, and our row is going to increase. Let me make sure that these are right. So increase, decrease, decrease, increase, decrease, increase, increase, decrease. Okay, cool. So there we go. That's a lot. Now I'm going to go create a new event here. I'm going to call it the step event, and this is going to be, for the most part, my movement code. Okay, so first I want to say that my x is equal to my column times width plus my starting width, which in this case was 88, my starting x, plus 88. Oh wait, no, not x, but target x. That's why I created those. And target y is equal to my row times width plus, was it 216? Yeah, 216 plus 216. And I'm just using essentially a linear equation to create this again. The starting x is here, and then every x is the width times the column more than that. My starting y is here, and every y position is the width times the row more than that. Okay, so now I'm going to say if our current x is not equal to, actually, let's look at the distance between the two. So if point underscore distance from our current x and y and our target x and y is greater than, I don't know, say 2 pixels, then we want to move towards them. So if our x's are wrong, we're going to say x is equal to lerp, which is linear interpolation. We're going to lerp between our current x and our target x by an amount of, say, 0.2. I might need to change that. Else our x is equal to our target x. Okay, so we increase our column. I think that's probably good. before I get too nuts into this, I want to try this out. So right now this should work for X changes. Let's take a look. And if it doesn't, we'll see what we need to fix. So let play. All right, cool. So that's an interesting issue. Okay, so here's what the problem was. This is a really dumb mistake to make. Some of you might have even caught me making it. So I know that the X is associated with a column and the Y is associated with the row, but when I was creating these variables in here, I, for some reason, mixed them up. The column is equal to the X minus 88, and the row is equal to a Y minus 216. So I'm going to save that and run it, and now we should be able to swap X positions. So let's give it a try. Okay, so if I click and drag, I can do that, but see, I have this weird issue there. So here's the problem with that. As soon as I left release, I need to say that is controlling is false. And then I also have to say that other dot is equal to no one. So it's not trying to, so it doesn't still know, I keep doing that. So it doesn't still know that it's controlling it, and it doesn't still know that the other dot still exists. So if I hit play now, I should be able to have that weird error not happen. But again, we have only put in X movement. So if I go like that, like that, like that, like that, so I'm not getting any weird positions. And if I pull off from the left, if I pull off from the right, I'm not getting any fatal errors. Okay, so let's fix this for our Y. So if I take this, I'm going to copy it, Command C, and I'm going to paste it. And every place I see, so this is going to be point distance XY, and this is going to be plane X, and target Y. And then this is going to be Y is looping to between its current Y and its target Y by 0.2 every time. And then this is Y is equal to target Y. Okay, so I'm going to save this and hit play. Let's check it out. Now it should work up and down, and because we put those limiters in our left release method, we shouldn't get any errors if we try to do it top to bottom. So there we go. No fatal errors if we try to pull up. No fatal, oh, hey, look at that. Okay, so that's from our down. Okay, column, oh, that's why. This needs to be row. Okay, cool. Save that and let's try it again. See if it still looks for something that isn't there. See if we still get a fatal error. Okay, if I pull down, okay, cool. Pull up, right, left, and I can swap places, and I don't get any super weird stuff happening. We don't have it recognizing if there's a match yet. We'll get to that soon. But right now, this is kind of a big deal here, getting our movement code. That was a longer one. So pat yourself on the back if you made it this far. If you have any questions or concerns, please leave them in the comments. If you learned anything today, feel free to give me a like. Otherwise, have a wonderful day.